Mr. Zimmerman and Admiral Cooper, in your testimony, Admiral, you in page 3 stated that one of the top priorities of CENTCOM is preserving America's advantage and position of strength relative to China. Mr. Zimmerman, in page 1, you said, secondly, we will deter China in the Indo-Pacific region through strength, not confrontation. So the U.S. Naval Institute publishes a weekly ship tracker, which again identifies where our surface ships are located around the world today. So last night's tracker shows that there are 25 warships that are in the Central Command region. 2 more minesweepers are apparently on the way to join the fleet. In Indo-Pacific, we have 1 carrier, the George Washington, which is not actually just being fitted out for deployment. It's not actually underway with a strike force. And we have 1 ARG-MU amphibious ship with 3 accompanying vessels. That's 4. That's the total count. That's 52% of the surface of the Earth is in the Indo-Pacific region. And because of this war, we have ships that are home ported in Yokosuka, Pearl Harbor, that are now situated in Central Command. And I guess the question I have for you, Mr. Zimmerman, the National Defense Strategy states that the U.S. will build and sustain a strong denial defense along the first island chain. Right now, I don't know how that's possible, given the fact that so many forces, naval forces, have been concentrated in command. How is this policy, this war, aligned with our national defense strategy, which identified China as still the #1 pacing threat?
Congressman, we remain fully committed to the priorities as you have outlined them there, including denial defense and deterring China peace.
With what?
Congressman, we retain the ability to act decisively when and where we need to around the globe. That's all part of the global force management process. The Indo-Pacific theater is not part of my theater, so I'll be careful how broadly I speak. But rest assured, the department is 100% committed to the priorities laid out in the NDS, and we retain the ability to act to implement all those priorities.
Thank you. So, including, Mr. Chairman, I would just ask that the USNI tracker, dated May 18th, be admitted to the record, which again just shows the incredible imbalance that we have right now in terms of the positioning of our fleet. I would also note, Mr. Rogers correctly stated how important it is to build up partnerships. Right now, we have a terrible energy crisis in this country, which Mr. Smith referred to. Eastern Asia is of a totally bigger, more catastrophic magnitude. Countries are implementing 4-day work weeks. They're doing rationing because of the fact that not only is the price is not going up, but because they depend on the Strait of Hormuz, supplies are actually being run down right now. It is not really hard for people to sort of understand who's causing this in terms of countries that we are trying to build partnerships. And frankly, I think that is another strategic harm that this war has created in terms of, again, the #1 identified defense challenge that we face, according to Trump's own defense strategy. Admiral Cooper, I have a couple quick questions for you. Is a blockade an act of war?
So we're executing the blockade today consistent with international armed conflict.
Well, the international law actually, in terms of blockades, was established in 1909 at the London Naval Conference, which the U.S. participated in, and the U.S. Senate actually voted to endorse. And it defined blockades as an act of war. Blockades don't work unless you have warships there to enforce them. So of course it's an act of war. I mean, and again, that's black letter maritime law, isn't it?
So I defer to the department as well as the White House in any characterization of how we execute business from a combatant command standpoint. From my perspective, we execute the orders as given, and today the legal umbrella that we're operating under is international armed conflict.
Well, it is really, as I said, not even a question of law or facts. I mean, if we had a Navy blockading the port of New York and New Jersey, we would treat that as an act of war. And the notion that somehow the ceasefire stopped the tolling of the War Powers Act in April when we put a blockade a few days later, which is an act of war, again, fails the legal test, which you don't need to really get intense advice from Office of Legal Counsel. I yield back.